What's up? A to Z Sports Live on a Wednesday. It is Thanksgiving Eve. It is our Friday of the week because we are off the next couple of days for Thanksgiving and Black Friday, but we are going into a massive week of football in both the NFL and in college football. We're going to talk about it all today as the Titans have cracked the door open for a three-peat of an NFL trend. And that might sound very vague. It's very interesting of what this is going to be. And we're going to talk and discuss how, if the Titans want to take advantage of this open door, they've got to go beat the Washington Commanders in our nation's capital on Sunday, which is December 1st, which is also crazy that we're already inching towards December 1st. And then we're going to talk a lot about the college football playoff rankings that came out last night because Sam and I decided we need to do more. We need to do more of that because it just means more. This college football playoff. So Sam is here. Also, we have sports trivia, which will be interesting because Sam is in his new apartment that is clearly having Wi-Fi delays, and he's using the phone hotspot. So we're going to try to potato our way through this morning show before we get to all of the great potato sides that are on the table tomorrow for Thanksgiving. So Sam, what's going on? Let's get this thing rocking and rolling here. The audio should be great. The video in and out, but we're going to work through all this. So Sam, what's going on?
Yeah, hey, we're hoping to like you said, potato our way through. So everybody in the chat, be patient. I understand if you can't see me, if I'm not moving a ton, if I freeze entirely. Hopefully you can at least wow. And now I'm fighting off a sneeze this morning. This is just like chaos right now as I try and sniffle my way through this. Be patient with me because, I had a long day of moving yesterday. I'm finally in the new apartment. I got locked in like 60% of the way moved in, but this is my situation now. So I'm still going to talk Titans. I'm still going to talk college football. I'm still going to fire off some hot takes and give Austin some crap for some of his very bad takes that I've been seeing on the internet. We'll get there. We will get there because I have receipts and I have stats for you. So we're just going to break it down. That's a little preview of what's to come, and it's exactly why you need to share the show. If you're watching on Facebook this morning, hit the share button in the bottom right corner. If you're watching on YouTube, go ahead. Take the YouTube link, send it to a friend, a group chat. You can repost us on Twitter and X and get it on your timeline. Just let everybody know A to Z Sports is live, talking Titans, talking a little college football here on not a Friday, feels like a Friday, Wednesday morning.
There you go. Let's get it going officially. Welcome into A to Z Sports, powered as always by the BetMGM app. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Sam Phelan, one of our Titans reporters for A to Z Sports.com, and we are Nashville's on-demand sports.network, going live weekday mornings at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Links to the show segment by segment on our Twitter X timeline. Also hit us up on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads for more great Titans content. Got to thank our sponsors. They make it happen for us, and they help out all of you. Wilson County Hyundai, make them a part of your new car buying process. Go see them in Lebanon or online, wilsoncountyhyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Farm Bureau Health Plans. Get better with Farm Bureau Health Plans, and you can do that by using our link, fbhp.com/ATOZ. And TDOT, join them to help keep Tennessee beautiful by joining their campaign of NobodyTrashesTennessee.com. So everybody who might have missed what's going on with Sam, he is not using the Netflix servers today. Sam says you need to upgrade your very low res. Sam moved yesterday, and it's all about the logistics of you move, and then you have to wait like 2 to 3 days, hopefully not longer, to get the Wi-Fi installed.
Yeah.
And then you're just hot-spotting your way through the holidays because the Wi-Fi comes on Friday, which good news for you is the Wi-Fi comes on Friday, which is when the big important football starts in college and in the NFL, because Thanksgiving football tomorrow is going to be irrelevant for the most part.
Yeah, listen, I have a nice little lobby area in the new apartment building, very fancy lobby area that has great Wi-Fi, has the ability, if I need to go down there and work off of it, watch football off of it. Matter of fact, they always have TVs running down there that have the football games on. So that is there at my convenience, but it's not
You just
exactly.
didn't want to do that for the show this morning? You didn't
not exactly the place to do a live broadcast when other people are also maybe down there doing their work. So
maybe not. We'll see. But anyway, all right. So we're gonna have an interesting conversation today. Sam.
By the way, if this gets bad enough, we will just throw a photo of Sam up here, like on the other side of Austin, because I'm sure people can hear me. Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you. Okay, I can actually. This is the longest I've gone. Not just knock on wood. You've been clear. I can see you blink. I saw that sniffle. So this is good. Oh, there you go.
Again, Facebook. It's shocking me that people are still saying on Facebook, "Hey Sam, dude, hey, in case you didn't know, you're buffering, man." We know that's expected. All right, we're toughing it out today.
Yes, yeah. It was a moving situation. Yeah, I might have to update the graphic like Sam buffering Phelan on your name just so people stop asking questions about it.
You just put buffering, yeah.
Yeah, Sam buffering. All right, so Sam, there is an interesting situation because not many people expected or thought the Titans were going to beat the Texans as a touchdown plus underdog in Houston, but they did. They scored 32 points on total, 30 on offense, and it's wild, right? And this has honestly started a hypothetical runaway, right? This is a very slippery slope where all of a sudden us Titans fans alone can just start looking week by week like, the Titans could have a chance here because the schedule doesn't look super challenging.
Yeah.
As I throw the schedule up here, you've got the Commanders that
I can see it.
Hey, good. That's good. The Commanders that might be paper tigers. They have not played very well. They've lost 3 straight games. The Jags suck. The Bengals are an abomination of defense. Then you have the Colts, who are also bad and have a terrible quarterback play in Anthony Richardson. The Jags, again, who suck. And the team you just beat in the Houston Texans at home in Week 18. So that's kind of like a turning of the tables, if you will. And so, Sam, you and I talked, I guess, Monday about the door that opens just by beating the Texans and how there could be a three-peat if the Titans want to take advantage of it. Sam, can you take us through what this three-peat could be as I update your buffering graphic?
Okay, yeah. I mean, so the three-peat here is a little bit of a trend that we've seen in the AFC South over the last 2 seasons, and it is teams going from worst to first in the division 1 year after, being towards the bottom of not only the division, but sometimes the entire league. Teams that are picking at the very top of the NFL draft with a young quarterback and a new head coach making drastic changes to their place in the standings. So I guess let's see if I can go ahead and successfully throw up a graphic here this morning. Austin, are you seeing this graphic?
We got it. We got it.
All right. Well, yeah, if you look at this graphic right here, the 2022 Jaguars finished, or 2021 Jaguars rather, finished 3-14. In 2022, Jacksonville, with second-year quarterback Trevor Lawrence and a new head coach in Doug Peterson, went 9-8 on the season. They actually started, I believe it was like 3-7 that year, rattled off like 6 of 7 to finish the year. The Titans, of course, lose 7 in a row to end the season. It ends with the Jags beating Tennessee, getting the AFC South title, getting into the playoffs, and winning a playoff game, mind you. The 2022 Texans were 3-13-1. They were right at the bottom of the league and drafted CJ Stroud. So they actually had the number 2 overall pick in that draft. They lost the number 1 overall pick in week 18, the last game of the year. They win, lose number 1, still land CJ Stroud, finished last in the division, hire DeMeco Ryans in the offseason, and then with a rookie head coach and a rookie quarterback, flip things around and go 10-7 immediately the next year, first place division title in the playoffs, and win a playoff game. Now, your 2024 Titans, not quite as bad as those other 2 teams, finish 6-11 in 2023 with a rookie quarterback in Will Levis. You also have a second-year guy in Levis this year. Of course, a rookie head coach in Brian Callahan, and a team that has not exactly looked like they were going to win the division title throughout the year. I don't think that's crazy to say when they're sitting here at 3-8. But as I mentioned with the Jaguars, it is a team that was out of it, seemed out of it, looked out of it, rattled off a bunch of wins late in the year to get back into the mix. And while the Texans were always kind of hanging around 500 last season, the Jaguars were the runaway team in this division. So, Austin, you brought up the Titans' schedule here.
Yep.
And if they beat the Commanders, right, then there's two games against the Jaguars. There's a winnable game against the Colts. I think there's a chance that the Titans could be favored in at least 2 out of 3, if not all 3 of those divisional games. You know, who knows what happens with the Bengals and Texans, but it gets interesting. And it gets interesting, especially with the way the Titans have played recently. And, you know, our guy Easton Freeze has showed us some numbers similar to this, where Will Levis has just really started to turn it around recently. The defenses that they're playing coming up are going to be atrocious soon.
Mm-hmm.
So it does, I think, you know, and this is, of course, the team since the bye week and just kind of how they've sort of been able to flip around their
numbers,
offense, right? Rushing yards, expected rushing yards, passing yards, top 10 in first downs. They've looked like a different team overall. And so if you can beat the Commanders this week, the Texans' schedule, just for anybody that's curious, while the Titans are playing Colts, the Jaguars twice, the Texans are going to have dates with the Dolphins, Ravens, and Chiefs. So there could be some losses coming up for the Houston Texans. I would say the door is cracked. The door is cracked here on this three-peat.
Cracked is open, though, right?
Cracked is absolutely
open. Cracked
is
not closed. It's definitely not locked. And so Darren says, what about the Colts schedule? You don't need to worry about the Colts schedule. Like, the Colts are not a good football team.
Well, I did. So I looked at both, and the Colts have 7 losses. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me just break this down for all the Titans fans right now.
Yeah.
The Titans still have 1 game remaining against the Colts. If the Titans were to win out, obviously they would be finishing at 9-8. If the Titans win out, that means they beat the Colts, which means the best the Colts could finish is also 9-8.
Mm-hmm.
In a scenario where the Titans, Colts, and Texans, or even just the Titans and Colts are tied, the Titans have the tiebreaker and would win the division over the Colts. So the Colts are not a concern. If you beat the Colts, you can get in. Or you're above the Colts, in any sort of tie scenario.
Yeah, and you look at the Commanders because it obviously starts with the Washington Commanders. None of this can happen if the Titans lose a game. And that's where I said yesterday with Easton, the Titans playoffs, we didn't realize it, but the Titans playoffs started last week in Houston, and they were able to win that game. The Commanders have lost. This is crazy. The Commanders have lost 3 games in a row. Against the Steelers, they lost a close one. Against the Eagles, they got blown out. Blown out, maybe not, but it was they lost by a full touchdown and a 2-point conversion. It was very much in hand on Thursday night. Then they lose to the Cowboys, who are terrible, and give up 2 special teams returns for touchdowns and miss an extra point that would have sent it overtime. So that's 3 straight losses. Their 3 wins before they've lost 3 games were against the Panthers, the Bears going through their midseason struggles, and the New York Giants, who are an abject failure. The other wins the Commanders have are against the Browns pre-Jameis, against the Cardinals, and against the Bengals, and against the Giants again. If you look at the Commanders, who are 7-5 on the season, the Commanders have 1 victory to a team that has a winning record, and it is the Arizona Cardinals early on in the season in week 4. So the Commanders are not exactly just superstars. Jayden Daniels is a superstar in the making, but this is a winnable game for the Tennessee Titans, especially with how the Titans are playing the last 3 weeks and how the Commanders are playing the next 3 weeks. So look, Titans are 5.5-point underdog. I think that's something to be interested in. I think it can come down towards the fourth quarter and a key drive like a lot of the Titans losses have.
Yeah.
But Sam, let's go ahead and get to our main question.
Let me set up one thing before we get to the question, because I've seen some people in the chat making a couple good analogies saying, I think Ken in the chat had said, the door isn't even open. They just left the bottom deadbolt unlocked, and like the Titans still have to unlock it and then open the door, which I actually think maybe is a little bit more accurate than the door just being cracked. And then I saw another comment that said, if the Titans win in Washington, it's on like Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
And that ultimately is where I think you and I are both at here, that we are trying to get across. This is not Austin and I saying that the Titans are about to go on some crazy run, that we expect them to win out, that we expect them to make the playoffs, or even that this is a likely scenario. But I don't even know if I expect them to beat the Commanders. But if they do, with the way the schedule unfolds after, I think it gets really interesting in a hurry. Like I think I will come in after Thanksgiving with an eyebrow raised at, wait a minute, Titans have won 2 in a row, Jacksonville coming to town, and a whole lot of winnable games left with the division not locked up.
Yeah.
It will get interesting if they beat the Commanders, which brings us to our question.
Yes. The question is, if the Titans beat the Commanders, what's your level of intrigue the rest of the season? If the Titans beat the Commanders, what is your level of intrigue for the rest of the season? So you guys can take that as the eyebrow raised, like, oh, something might be happening here. Something might be cooking up here after Thanksgiving, after getting into December. So if the Titans beat the Commanders, what is your level of intrigue for the rest of the season? First, I can tell you guys about our friends at Farm Bureau Health Plans. If you're looking for a health coverage plan to help you out, maybe your family out, regardless of your situation, Farm Bureau Health Plans has the expertise and the resources to make it happen for you. They can find that right plan for that right rate for your situation, whether you're out there by yourself, independent contractor, entrepreneur, single, just battling the world, and you don't want to go to the marketplace for that health coverage. Farm Bureau Health Plans can step in. They've been serving Tennesseans for 78 plus years, so they can take you all along the road to having the right health coverage. Don't pay out of pocket for dentist visits. Don't pay out of pocket for the contacts, the vision coverage if you need it. If you don't need it, then don't pay for it. So that's what Farm Bureau Health Plans takes care of you for the right coverage for your right situation. To get a quote today, you do a quick health assessment, and it's right there for you online using our link, fbhp.com/ATOZ.
Today's show, if you can help me out with the graphic here, Austin. Today's show brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports when you sign up with BetMGM and get up to $1,500 back into your account in the form of a bonus bet. It's the best way to do sports betting with, as we talked about, intrigue in the Titans and college football playoff at its most entertaining it has ever been. We'll talk about that later in the show, but get involved using the bonus code ATOZ Sports on the sportsbook born in Vegas and betmgm.com.
All right, so Sam, we're asking the question here. If the Titans win against the Commanders in DC, what is your level of intrigue on a 1 through 10 scale? What is your level of intrigue on a 1 through 10 scale for this rest of the season if they do win in Washington? Sam, we'll send you to the chat. What are you seeing from the chat here on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch?
All right, let's see if this chat is. Yeah, there we go. Zach at a 10. You seeing that? That's our dummy test right there. Are we seeing Zach at a 10?
Yep, we're seeing it.
All right. Well, Darren is at a 0. Still no interest from Darren. Got a 9 from Kaz, a 10 from Stevie, an 8 from Scott. Top tier is at a 7, a 4 from Kojo. I see a 3, another 7, another 8. Brandon's all the way down at a 2. Julius is down at a 3, but then there's some 8s, 7s, and 9s. We've got a couple other 10s from Wes and from Lee. Zachary's at a 10. Dylan's at a 7. Matt's at a 7. Benjamin says 10. He's a diehard. Why not be at a 10? Clayton's at a 7. Steven is always at a 10. Feels like 7 is the most common answer, but the consensus here in the chat is pretty high, Austin. People are leaning towards the top end of the scale. I see a lot of 10s, which is encouraging.
Yeah, interesting. I'll go first. because I think it's what I think about the game right after the Commanders. Which is the Jags.
Yeah.
And the Jags are gonna lose the Texans, you'd think, on Sunday. I'm at a 7 because if you beat the Commanders, you have the Jags, and you have a chance to really beat the Jags. And now you're what? What's the record? 5-8?
You'll be 5-8, yeah.
And it starts to get really interesting real quick. And then the Bengals game.
I mean, if you beat the Commanders and the Jags are at 5-8, there's a chance you're on the in the hunt graphic.
Yeah.
Which I know is dumb, but speaks to the fact that it's not dead. You're not dead in the water.
No, and you have the Bengals coming to Nashville, which will have a lot of emotion around it for this team. Are the Bengals the Bengals have the Steelers this upcoming Sunday. I don't know who they have 2 weeks from now, but what's the Bengals situation like? Do they win a game or two? They're actually favored at home against the Steelers, ironically, this Sunday. So do the Bengals get extra life by winning a couple games? Do the Bengals lose a couple games? Because if the Bengals are 0-2 in the next two, and the Titans are 2-0, then I think you have a lot of motivational flip on that. But the Bengals could also come in here motivated too to beat Brian Callahan and a couple former teammates. So my level of intrigue is a 7 out of 10 if the Titans beat the Commanders, and I'm not having look. It's Wednesday night. A week ago, Wednesday night is when I had my gut feeling of I think the Titans are going to beat the Texans. I'm going to put this money line bet down. I haven't had that yet, but I do think Titans plus 5.5 is very interesting. So, and Chris asks, have the Titans ever beaten Joe Burrow? Yeah, it was one of their 6 wins last season. Pay attention.
They beat him last year.
Yeah, come on, that's crazy. They actually beat him the last 2 years, right?
No. I think they lost to him in 20. I'm not sure, but I want to say they lost to Cincinnati in 2022.
Oh, they beat him in 2023.
They did beat him last year.
Yes, crazy. By a lot. Yeah, 27-3 was is what Steve Jones says with Tannehill. Yeah, so they have beaten Joe Burrow. So anyway, so Sam, I'm at a 7 out of 10. Where are you at with your intrigue?
I'm at a 9. I really am.
Really?
It's more than just for 2 reasons. Number one is what we've talked about, which is the idea that if you can beat Washington, now you've back-to-back wins against Houston and Washington, 2 teams.
Time out. I'm sorry, Sam. Time out. No, the Titans beat the Bengals with Joe Burrow. He was not hurt last year. It was not Jake Browning, Ken. The Titans beat Joe Burrow in the Bengals in week 3. It was week 4.
I was there.
Yes,
I remember.
Yes. I know. Remember that was didn't you say that was when you filmed your Survivor application video?
Yes, you're right. I did. I filmed my application video for Survivor on the field after the Titans beat the Bengals at Nissan Stadium
with Joe Burrow at quarterback. So I'm sorry to interrupt you
I believe they were wearing an odd jersey as well. I want to say the Bengals were wearing all white or something, like the snow Bengal jerseys or something. Maybe I'm making that up, but
there you go. Back to your 9 out of 10 intrigue. Sorry.
Yeah. So, number one, it's what we just talked about, which is the idea that if you beat Washington, you've now won back-to-back games against 2 teams who were supposed to be in the playoff picture in Houston and Washington. You've put up another good performance, you would think, on offense, and you then have a date with the Jacksonville Jaguars, a winnable game. It's momentum starting to build, and that's one reason. But number 2 is if you beat Washington, it means the guy at the bottom of our screen did it again. It means Will Levis did enough to win yet again. And with the way that he is trending through 3 games after returning from injury, I'm going to start getting really excited to watch Will Levis play football every Sunday. I'm already excited to watch Will Levis and just see what he has. But now you start putting a winning streak together. You start doing it against some other really good quarterbacks and some other good teams. And my level of intrigue and excitement in this team grows even apart from my intrigue and excitement about a potential push at the division. I think Titans fans everywhere would agree. The goal for the end of this season is let's be excited to watch Will Levis. Let's be excited to watch what Brian Callahan cooks up on offense.
Mm-hmm.
And a win against Washington would only further solidify what we've seen over 3 weeks. It would only, give Levis a little bit more confidence. And, it really would do a lot for me. So I think I come in at a full 9 out of 10 if they beat Washington moving forward, and in terms of just how locked in I'm going to be in each and every one of these games.
Yeah, beating Washington takes it up a notch for sure.
And Anthony brings up a point that we've brought up on the show before. Bad teams don't win back-to-back. And so if
that's my rule in the NFL. Bad teams don't win back-to-back games.
And I agree with it. And maybe the Titans are a bad team, and we find out that they were a bad team. Let's find out if they're still a bad team. But what if the Titans win 3 in a row? Because if they can beat Washington and Houston, they can definitely beat Jacksonville. Well, then you have to kind of say, maybe this isn't a bad team anymore. Maybe this is a really solid competitive team for the back half of the season. And that is the reason why my intrigue will go up. If they lose to Washington, I'll be back to being like, okay, well, hey, Houston was fun. We had fun in that one game against Houston. Hopefully Levis looks good the rest of the way. But yeah, if you can find a way to pull this game out, I'm perking up. I'm sitting up in my chair a lot.
Sam, do you know the last time the Titans won back-to-back games?
It's 2022.
Yeah.
Is it Thursday Night Football? Green Bay?
That would be the second of the two, yeah.
Yeah, the second of the two, and then the game before that was Cincinnati.
We've talked about this before.
Denver. It was Denver.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was Denver.
Denver at home. Packers short week in Lambeau on Thursday night. They win back-to-back to get to 7-3.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Which was that date was November 17th.
Look at that poll, by the way.
It's because the Todd Downing DUI happened. You wrote so many stories about that.
I've got that date locked into place. I know what day they played Green Bay in 2022.
Oh, it's so funny. Yeah, that you will never forget November 17th, 2022. That's just hilarious. All right. So I did have somebody asked me a question, and I'm going to ask Sam a question. We'll do that here in a second. I want to get to more of those in a second. We'll talk college football playoffs here in a bit, but 2 questions about Will Levis, one to me and one to Sam. But first, the Bone and Joint Institute is where you should turn for all of your injury needs whenever you get hurt in life. You have to know who you can turn to and who can help you out get back on the playing field and off that sideline. Don't let that injury linger. Do like I did. I had a plantar fasciitis thing, was working out like an idiot in my 30s. Don't do that, right? Oh, I had to get taken care of. Then 2 years later, still working out like an idiot, had knee tendonitis in my 30s, and Bone and Joint Institute helped me out. So they were able to help me figure out how to deal with those ailments in my lower body so I can still exercise, but do that and train smartly and educate me on how to manage those injuries throughout my life. They can do the same thing for you. If it's an injury that needs repair, they've got you because they got all the resources and the experts under one roof in Franklin, right off of I-65, Highway 96. Online to book an appointment when you need them, boneandjointtn.org.
Today's show powered by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports when you sign up with BetMGM and BetMGM.com. You can get up to $1,500 back in the form of a bonus bet. It goes back into your account if your first bet misses when you use that bonus code at sign up. So sign up. ATOZ Sports. That's the bonus code. And if you're betting on NFL, college football, NHL, NBA, college basketball, there's sports galore going on right now. Maybe you want to sit down on your couch tomorrow and watch a little NFL action on Thanksgiving, but get a little bit of skin in the game while you're at it. BetMGM.com, the sportsbook born in Vegas.
All right, so here we are talking Will Levis before we get to some college football playoff rankings. And Jay says, the Vols talk is boring. No, it's
We're
not.
talking Vols.
But anyway, that
we will briefly talk Vols.
Right. There's no way. You're crazy if you think the college football playoff talk is boring. You're crazy. All right. Anyway, before we get to that, 2 questions. Jay comes in and asks me, will Austin be finally in on Levis if he beats the Commanders?
Ooh, I like this.
So, no, like one game is not going to change my mind one way or the other on a player. That's ridiculous. But he is another step forward in the correct direction, just like beating what he did against the Texans was another step forward in the correct direction. If the Titans beat the Commanders and Will Levis plays, maybe he plays between the Texans and the Vikings game level. He just plays an average of what he's had the last 3 weeks, which is probably 220-ish yards, 240 yards, throws a touchdown, maybe 2 touchdowns, but doesn't have then okay, that's a 4th game in a row of the correct thing. Again, I'm not just saying, yep, that's the guy because he played 4 solid games in a row. No, I need to see that extend, because I said this yesterday to Easton, Sam, is that the whole point of why I wanted Will Levis healthy and why I wanted the Titans to beat the Colts with Mason Rudolph in week 6 is because I wanted an extra win under the Titans' belt to make December more important. I wanted a Will Levis December high leverage games. And we kind of have it. December 1st, you're do or die.
I mean, if you're 4-7 right now for the Titans with a win over the Texans and this slate coming up, all of a sudden you're really talking about like you're talking, you beat the Commanders, you could be like hanging around 500 again. So
absolutely. So that's I want high leverage evaluation of Will Levis this month. I don't want Will Levis to just ball out when there's nothing to lose because the season's already over. That's easy. It's easier to do that. It's easier to go play free football when you don't have any expectations on you anymore. So that is where I'm not automatically saying.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair. I will say though, 3 games now, if you were to take all of Will Levis's numbers of the last 3 games since he returned and was healthy, this is a stat that Sam Phelan cooked up himself. If you take up all of those numbers and combine them, and then you look for Will Levis's quarterback rating in those 3 games. So since he returned healthy, Will Levis's quarterback rating is up over 110. And for those of you that are curious, there is only one quarterback in the NFL with a better quarterback rating on the season than what Will Levis has done over the last 3 games. It's Lamar Jackson. So the effort that Will Levis has put forth through the last 3 weeks has been that of elite quarterback play for an NFL quarterback. Now, it is not, over the course of an entire season. A lot of these other guys have done it more consistently. That is such a big part of being one of those top guys, is being able to do it week in and week out. But it is undeniable to me that these flashes we've seen over the last 3 weeks have been, really, really something to be pleased with, because that quarterback rating is better than Josh Allen. It's better than Patrick Mahomes. It's better than name your favorite quarterback, Joe Burrow, whoever, better than them through the entire regular season. So
yeah, for
can
sure.
he maintain it? That, not at that level, I don't think. But I think that, when you can see a guy go through stretches of 3 and 4 games of elite play, all of a sudden the below average and average performances become a little bit easier for you to stomach. And, that ultimately is why I'm so intrigued and why I was at a 9 earlier. But why I think him doing it again against the Commanders would be even more reason for people to get excited.
Will Levis has also not won back-to-back games in the NFL, right? So it's like, can you do it again? We've seen Will Levis do the Falcons game and then lose 3 in a row. Then he goes and beats the Dolphins, and then they lose, and then he wins against the Texans. Now what happens? So it's like, Marcus Mariota was the NFL, I think maybe he was the AFC Offensive Player of the Month, November 2016. Offensive Player of the Month. Put together 4 ridiculously good games. One of those was beating Aaron Rodgers and the Packers in Nissan Stadium and looking great while doing it. Now, that was a 1-month span that didn't mean anything moving forward, and he had a ceiling, right? Will Levis has put together 3 really solid games, not Offensive Player of the Month in the AFC type games, but 3 really solid games to where he was at. So no, 1 game against the Commanders after the Texans game
Well,
isn't going to make me buy in.
But
I'm not
here
gonna
is-
I'm still gonna continue my solid trend though.
Well, yeah, Austin, though, let me hit you with this because I wrote this on A2Zsports.com yesterday. I would encourage everybody to go read it and really take it in, slow down, read it, comprehend what you're reading, because I find it to be absolutely worth the time when you contextualize Will Levis. And for people to understand why I am where I am on Will Levis right now, I think a lot of people, media included, people that I've spoken to, away from the mic and, press conferences and stuff included, don't fully understand why I'm at where I'm at on Will Levis. But let me contextualize it with the milestone that Will Levis hit in his NFL career this past week against the Texans. He played his 17th game.
Mm-hmm.
So Will Levis has now played, and 17 games is somewhat relative because he missed 2 of those games, really. 2 of those games, he was taken out in the first quarter, didn't really put up any numbers because of injury, which I guess can be part of any rookie season.
Should
Sure.
be. Yeah, I think it should be.
So he started 17 games. He's really played 15, but this is a 1 full season sample size of Will Levis. In those games, Will Levis has 3,255 passing yards, 18 touchdowns, and 13 interceptions. He has a completion percentage of 62.2% with 230 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown. And he exited 2 of those games early. If Will Levis had put up those numbers, 3,250 passing yards, 18 touchdowns, 13 picks, 230 rushing yards as a rookie, and that was his rookie season, and the last 3 games of his rookie season, he was playing some towards elite football that was looking better and better and better and ascending, I think the vibe on Will Levis would be super positive. It would be very, very intrigued. It would be a lot of upside. It would be people pumped to see what he can bring in the future. But because this is split between the back half of last year and the front half of this year, or even now the back half of this year, and broken up by some injuries along the way, I think people are missing the context of how much better he's gotten and the body of work that we have from a young quarterback through 17 games playing.
Yeah.
Right,
for sure. I couldn't tell if you were done because you froze.
Yeah, so that was,
but
it was an abrupt end on my part.
no, you're good. I just think there's a lot of extra 18 touchdowns with 13 picks would be a really good rookie campaign. Really promising rookie campaign, which is what Amy Adams Strunk called him after the firing of Mike Vrabel, a promising young quarterback, right? And but also people in the chat, the reason why the Titans are not in the hunt right now is because of what Will Levis did in week 1 against the Bears. What Will Levis did.
And what the special teams did in week 1 against the Bears. I mean,
even with the special teams did it again on Sunday.
Yeah, you don't give up a blocked punt for a touchdown. You win the game against the Bears.
They gave up an 80-yard. They gave up a touchdown in 18 seconds because the opening kickoff went 80 yards, and they fumbled and gave up points for Jaquan Jackson.
Yeah, sure.
So the special teams still suck, but Will Levis did not, and Will Levis threw a pick 6 in the game. So the Titans were able to overcome it because they made big plays, and Will Levis made big plays really well. Played really well outside of those 3 plays or so. I feel like he is the reason why he did dig his hole, right? He dug the hole that he is climbing out of. And I think we have to remember that. We can allow him to climb out of it and dig out of it, but he still dug the hole in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with that. I just I feel like the narrative around Will Levis is a lot more sour than his actual production would suggest, than his actual numbers would point to. It is shocking to me how consistently negative the vibe is on this guy, because I think a lot of people wrote him off because he got injured, and they wrote him off because the team started losing games. And I think they forget how inexperienced he is as an NFL quarterback. And for him to still be within 17 NFL starts and continually getting better, as I have seen him do this year while young and healthy, and for him to be playing how he has been playing over the last 3 weeks, for Brian Callahan to be getting more comfortable with him, I genuinely am surprised that there is not more optimism among the fan base and the media base regarding Will Levis right now.
It's because of it's the memes. It's because he has been turned into a laughing stock of it in the month of September,
Sure.
right? But that's the internet doesn't forget, right? To quote the famous Superbad, people don't forget. That
No, yeah, you're
what
absolutely
happens in
right.
third grade, you remember it. And it's not going to go away. It takes a lot to erase those bad moments from people.
Yeah, and I mean that's also the internet in general. Very funny, whatever.
That's our life, though.
Yeah, a little bit of, but that happens with anybody. And that's what I'm saying is because I am, and part of it's stuff that he brought upon himself at USC. But like, I, as a Bears fan, am sitting there scrolling Twitter as the Bears game is kind of unfolding and seeing what people were saying about Caleb Williams' effort, which was one of the best games I've seen a rookie quarterback play. Unfortunately, they lost in overtime to the Vikings, but Caleb Williams was like, drop your jaw. Wow. In that game was his best game as a pro. He made some incredible throws, and like 1 4th down, the Bears go for it. Williams throws a ball to Keenan Allen, who drops the ball and doesn't catch the ball. And Twitter's just on fire about how bad Caleb Williams is. And this guy sucks. And like, this is so funny. And they're all memeing him and doing the nails painting thing. And I'm just like, all right. I mean, this is the internet in 2024. It's like, we're going to take one thing. We're going to wait for the opportunity. Will Levis could play 5 games, the rest of like 5 straight games now of being dominant for the Titans over and over and over and over again. He's going to throw a pick, and then the meme is going to pop back up, and people are going to like clown him for it. That's what's going to happen. So I don't know, like, yeah.
And that's just, but hey, Will Levis has an opportunity in the last 6 games to legitimately do things to change that. It's his hole that he dug and his hole that he has to get out of. So, all right, now let's go ahead and flip it. Nick says Sam had better Wi-Fi on the Survivor Island. Well, there is another episode tonight of Survivor 47. So there's 8 left. Sam is one of them. So we'll find out my old graphic that I put up a couple weeks ago. Who survives longer? Will Levis' second stint this season as a Titans starting quarterback, or Sam? It seems like it might be a pretty interesting battle because Will Levis has played some pretty damn good football. So we'll find out what happens with Sam tonight on CBS. But man, last night, college football playoff rankings, they continue to be dramatic. And the discourse surrounding the college football playoff rankings is the best thing sports has to offer right
Agreed.
now. There is no, like, the discourse is chaotic and simultaneously beautiful.
Austin, I had to prep for the show today. And so I was like really diving into not just the rankings, but the possible scenarios and the odds and the predictors and all of this stuff. And it made my brain hurt. It threw me, like, it's one of those things that's almost difficult to be like, play the what if game. Because
I love it. That's my favorite.
Well, I know it's fun.
Meet me in the rabbit hole.
It is a blast. It can take up hours and hours of conversation, but it's also very difficult because you're like, okay, well, what if this team beats this team? And then you're like, yeah, that can happen. And then you're like, well, that's great unless Georgia loses. And then if Georgia loses in an upset fashion, you don't expect Georgia to lose. Well, now it's more chaos and you have to ask another tough question. And like, it's just that way across the board. And we're going to slowly see it start to simplify as the games unfold this weekend. But man, is it fun.
All right, so let's show you guys the most recent rankings. This is the playoff bracket that is currently based on the rankings, and then the full top 25 rankings on the right. So you've got number 1, Oregon, number 2, Texas. So again, they put the highest ranked team in the conference in the conference champion slot, but that will obviously play out on the football field. So Texas, the 2 seed, Miami, the 3 seed, Boise State, who is ranked 11th, takes that 4th conference champion slot. Arizona State, who is ranked 16th, takes the 5th highest ranked conference champion spot out of the Big 12. Ohio State slides into the sweet spot at 5. Then you got Tennessee on the road at Georgia in the 9 versus 8. Indiana on the road to Penn State in the 11 versus 6 in a Big Ten matchup. And then SMU at Notre Dame, Methodist versus the Catholics at 10 versus 7 to go play Texas. So like that is the current bracket. So we want to ask you guys, what is the most entertaining storyline? What is the most entertaining storyline in the college football playoff conversation right now? So what is the most entertaining? And that's where we want you guys to talk through it. It's, again, the discourse is wild. It is crazy. It is beautiful. So what is the most entertaining storyline in the college football playoff rankings right now? But first, Sam, I'm going to tell everybody about our great friends at T-Dot. We are all trying to keep Tennessee beautiful. Wednesday before Thanksgiving is one of the most traveled days of the year in our country. And I'm guessing a high percentage of our audience will be hitting the road to go see family on the interstate, and you're just going to see trash. You're just going to see litter all over the interstate. And T-Dot is trying to fix that and join their campaign to find the solution to end littering across our state of Tennessee by visiting nobodytrashestennessee.com. They have litter cleanups across the state in your communities that you can help out with. You can sign up and show up with those litter cleanups as well. Great opportunity for your kids who might be out of school right now. They might be out of school coming up for some time in the holiday season in December, and give them something to do. Make volunteer experience a part of their young, evolving, developing lives by visiting nobodytrashestennessee.com to help out T-Dot. nobodytrashestennessee.com.
Today's show powered by BetMGM. If you have takes on this college football playoff, if you have teams that you think are going to make a deep run, make sure you bet them. Get ahead of it with a futures bet on BetMGM and use the bonus code ATOZ Sports. If your first bet loses, the money goes back into your account in the form of a bonus bet up to $1,500 with the sportsbook born in Vegas and BetMGM.com.
All right, Sam. So I'm going to flip back to the graphic, and I'll send you to the chat.
Yeah, you go to the chat. You go to the chat.
Go to the chat.
Yeah,
I'm going to do everything over here.
I'm recording out of a toaster. So like,
okay, I'll go to the chat while we leave the bracket up there. I
can barely read the school names on here.
My back is starting to hurt. All right. So let's see. I'm trying to scroll up to the top here. Most entertaining. That's the question. Most entertaining storyline. Lee says the SEC hate. So what do you think? Because I'm just gonna we're gonna read these entertaining storylines and pause.
We can break it down. So I don't agree with the idea that there's SEC hate here. I think the SEC is actually getting a lot of love here to have this many teams in the top 25 and to have this many teams within striking distance with South Carolina, Ole Miss, Alabama all lurking right on the outside. Now, this is the result of the SEC cannibalizing itself. Yep. This is the result of this weird little, this team A has beat Team B, but Team B has beat Team C. Team C has beat Team D, and Team D beat Team A. And it's this like weird circle that is going on within the SEC that leads the committee in a tough spot of kind of going, I don't know. And so I know a lot of people are pretty down on Texas, mainly because Texas doesn't have the big, top tier win. But at the end of the day, when you have a conference that has cannibalized itself, the team with the least losses tends to get, propelled towards the top.
Yeah, I don't think it's SEC hate. Look, Florida is playing way better football than they were before, and they knocked off Ole Miss.
I mean, South Carolina is a different team than they were.
Okay, that's what I want to get to next, because David brings up, watch out for South Carolina. I'm going to get to Vanessa's comment. I'm going to get to Jesse's and some of these other storylines. I'm just going to favor some of these storylines so we don't forget it. Because David says, watch out for South Carolina. Guys. Or maybe he means USC as in USC versus Notre Dame. I don't know. Regardless, I'm going to use this opportunity to talk about South Carolina. South Carolina, I don't understand why people think South Carolina has a chance.
I think they're in if they beat Clemson.
Why? Stop. Don't answer it right now. I'm just going to say why and ask you that why. And I'm going to tell you why they should not. Because South Carolina's potential win over Clemson is not a better win than what Alabama has. It's not a better win than what Ole Miss has. Ole Miss and Alabama both beat Georgia, who is the 7th best team. South Carolina would have beat Clemson, who is the 12th best team. And Alabama and Ole Miss have both beaten South Carolina. Ole Miss, in particular, beat South Carolina at South Carolina and beat them by 24 points, 27-3. In my opinion, there should be no world that South Carolina can move ahead of Ole Miss. And if they are both 9-3, which means South Carolina beats Clemson and Ole Miss beats Mississippi State, 9-3, Ole Miss should be ahead of 9-3 South Carolina.
You're adding a Clemson win for South Carolina there as well.
I told you that was the first thing I said. But the Clemson win for South Carolina is not as good as Ole Miss's win over Georgia, because Ole Miss whooped Georgia.
I don't know if I would agree that they should. So, like, I'm going to have two kind of lines of thought here when we talk about all of this. What I think should happen is not necessarily what I think will happen, but I'm going to argue a lot for what I think will happen. And I think when you look at South Carolina at 15, they're sitting right behind Ole Miss. They're sitting right behind Alabama. They have a date with number 12. It's a better opponent than Alabama or Ole Miss have this weekend. I think a convincing win from South Carolina will jump them of both of those teams because they have the opportunity to pick up the best win of that trio this weekend.
I don't care. But, like, again, because Mr. Jones says South Carolina has better losses. But at what, like, where does better losses rank in the priorities?
No,
because I think head-to-head has to matter.
Oh, I agree with you. Head-to-head should matter.
So, therefore, South Carolina's out, guys. If head-to-head matters, South Carolina cannot jump Alabama and Ole Miss if all three teams are 9-3.
Well, but this is the weird thing about the SEC, right? Is because, yes, there's the head-to-head, but then there's the Vanderbilt beat Bama. South Carolina beat Vanderbilt pretty good. South Carolina beat Missouri. South Carolina will have beat Clemson. South Carolina will have amassed.
Alabama beat Missouri.
Okay, yeah, fair. I'm just saying.
Like, beat Georgia.
This was one of my shades at you while we're on the SEC topic, because I think you made an atrocious argument on Twitter the other day. You had commented because Greg McElroy said the words, Alabama needs Tennessee to lose to Vandy.
Right.
Which is true. And if your justification for saying, Greg McElroy, make your words make sense, why would Tennessee, who beat Alabama, drop below Bama if Tennessee loses to Vandy, who beat Alabama? You cannot use Vanderbilt in your argument here.
Okay, so what about the head-to-head?
Alabama beat Georgia and Georgia beat Tennessee. And so this is the weird cycle that exists within the SEC. Now, let me be clear. I'll go my president mode. I think Tennessee should be in over Alabama no matter what, because because they played each other on the field and Tennessee beat Alabama.
Right.
But what will happen? Bama will jump Tennessee if Tennessee loses this game. Right, this is a win. If this is a lose and you're out for Tennessee, 100%.
I agree.
Bama is 11th in the country in strength of record. They've got 3 top 25 wins. Tennessee's only top 25 win is Alabama. And so you have a win over Georgia, a win over South Carolina, a win over Missouri when you're Bama, and then
but also like here's where it just gets messy, right? Because Tennessee beat Oklahoma, who just waxed Alabama and embarrassed Alabama, right?
Right, but I mean,
OU was in like so in. Mr. Jones brings up
Alabama waxed Arkansas, who beat Tennessee.
Right. So again, I think
all
those things equal out, which means go to the head-to-head. But here's the problem. And this is what the committee is telling us. This is not Sam or I's opinion. The committee is telling us head-to-head only matters in November.
I would agree.
Right? That's what the committee is telling us. Head-to-head doesn't matter if it was in September. Head-to-head doesn't matter if it happened in October. Maybe Halloween. Maybe that last week of October. But head-to-head only matters in November.
Yeah, I think there are specific, and I do think it is part of the flawed concept of like the college football in general, with it being an arbitrary ranking system. Because we look at something like this, and on one hand, you'd be like, okay, well, South Carolina is 1 spot behind Ole Miss. South Carolina has a much tougher opponent this weekend than Ole Miss. If South Carolina blows out Clemson, who's ranked ahead of both of them, surely South Carolina will jump Ole Miss. And yet, if you're Ole Miss, you're sitting there saying, we beat South Carolina.
But here's the crazy thing, Sam, because what happened to Clemson in week 1?
They lost to Georgia. Yeah,
by
they got
a
blown
million
out.
points, who lost to Ole Miss. And it's the craziest thing, because who has Clemson beaten?
No, at the end of the day, though, and so like
Why does Clemson deserve to be number 12?
Clemson does not deserve to be number 12.
Exactly.
I think
But they're there.
if there's a team on this board that is criminally overranked, it is Clemson. It's funny because like we knew this would happen. We knew the whole expand the playoff argument at when we get to 12 would be like a funny thing people like to bring up, because whoever's the first team left out of this thing is going to be pissed.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, it's going to be a team with 3 losses. Like there is no
which I'm cool with.
No, right. It's like you're not going to be a 2-loss Tennessee and get left out. If you're a 3-loss Tennessee and you get left out by 1 spot,
no complaints.
Tough nuts. You lost 3 games.
No complaints.
You know, and that's my argument for all these teams is like, you got to win 10 games to get in. Sorry.
So here's a question that I've asked myself internally, but haven't had the platform or the time to talk about it yet outside of that. Because Tennessee is the interesting one. What happens if Tennessee loses to Vanderbilt, which, by the way,
I think it's I think this is a playoff game. If they lose to Vanderbilt, they're out.
No, I agree with that. But who's in? Like, if Tennessee loses to
so Tennessee loses, and so now one of Bama or South Carolina probably gets in. Depending on what happens with South Carolina.
Which is crazy, because I think if you look at those, and you look at the 3 teams, 3 SEC teams, 13 through 15, I think Ole Miss is the best football team.
I agree. I've been very clear on that, but I think, I don't know. I don't.
So it's basically it's up to Tennessee to not allow a 3-loss team to make the playoff. Because
absolutely. Well, we might get one anyway, but it won't be an SEC.
Well, it would be but if the only way we'd get a 3-loss team is if it's a conference championship loser.
I mean, it's tough. It really does depend. It's hard to predict because it really is, as dumb as it sounds to say it, really is result based here. Because what happens with Bama, Ole Miss, and South Carolina? Who wins in overtime and who wins convincingly? I mean, Ole Miss has Mississippi State. They should be able to blow out Mississippi State.
Egg Bowl's weird, man.
No, but it's a weird game. What is Clemson and South Carolina look like? What does Alabama do in the Iron Bowl, which is another obviously weird game?
How about this stat? You want to hear a crazy stat that'll blow your mind?
Yeah.
Alabama has never beaten Auburn in Tuscaloosa without Nick Saban as the head coach.
That is crazy. That is crazy.
There's a weird curveball that's going to make you go, oh, okay.
Well, it's because they didn't used to play in Tuscaloosa.
They played it in Legion Field in Birmingham up until 2000. So there were 3 times, but still, it's like, what? Like, Nick Saban was obviously able to beat Auburn at home. But in the first 3 games in Tuscaloosa before Nick Saban arrived, Auburn won all 3 of those games. I just thought that was insane.
Let's get to some of these storylines that are outside of the SEC. Austin, my biggest one here that I find really interesting is the Big 12. And the idea that the Big 12 could miss the playoff entirely.
Yeah.
Big 12, especially right when the College Football Playoff Committee designed this format for the top 5 highest ranked conference champions to get in, the thought was that all of the Power 4 conferences would certainly have a representative. But the way that the Big 12 has also found a way to cannibalize itself over the last 3-4 weeks, it's just
shout out Kansas.
Shout out to Kansas for sure. Leaves us in a really interesting spot because honestly, Tulane kind of runs the table here. Tulane can be a champion of the American and be sitting somewhere within that 14, 15, 16 range. And depending on what happens in the Big 12, Arizona State can make the Big 12 title game. BYU can make the Big 12 title game. Colorado can make the Big 12 title game. Kansas State can make the Big 12 title game. Iowa State can make the Big 12 title game. And as a matter of fact, there are 3 other teams that can still make the Big 12 title game, all the way down to West Virginia. Like, crazy. the Big 12 is just madness right now. It is completely wide open. There is a real chance that we end up sitting with a handful of teams ranked in like the low 20s, and none of them end up making the playoff. But Colorado is all the way down there as the 25th highest rated team in the country. If they win, and Iowa State, so if Colorado wins, they need 2 of Iowa State, BYU, and Arizona State to lose. If that happens, now all of a sudden Colorado is into the Big 12 title game with a 33% chance of making the college football playoff.
Okay, so you said Colorado plays Friday night against Oklahoma State, who's 3-8.
If Colorado beats Oklahoma State, they will need 2 of Iowa State, BYU, Arizona State, any 2 of those teams to lose.
So BYU plays 4-7 Houston, is a 13-point favorite, and BYU's lost 2 games in a row. Iowa State hosts Kansas State in a 9-2 versus 8-3 game, which will be very interesting.
Yeah.
And that is on Saturday night. And then Arizona State goes to Arizona, who is 4-7, and the Sun Devils are an 8.5-point favorite.
Yeah, it's not likely for Colorado, but if Colorado wins on Friday night against Oklahoma State, you're going into Saturday as a Buffs fan with still a path to the college football playoff, which I find just so interesting that's where we're at right now in this stage. And really, it's what I find interesting. The most interesting thing about the playoff format as a whole is you're not only competing with these teams that are right around you. If you're Bama, Ole Miss, or South Carolina right now, you're not just going against one another. You're not just going against Clemson. You're also kind of rooting for help at the back end of the country, because if a Tulane gets in and now Tulane is jumping you can't be number 12. You have to be number 11 to get in. It's a really is Indiana in? Is Indiana solidly in at this point?
Probably. I mean, they're not losing to Purdue, so yeah, I would say so.
What if they lose the Big Ten title game?
They're not in the Big Ten title game.
Oh, you're right. Duh.
So that's like, if Ohio State beats Michigan as 4 touchdown favorites, then Ohio State versus Oregon is the Big Ten championship, and Penn State and Indiana just chilling.
And they get in by chilling.
So
Penn State's chilling regardless, but
Penn State's if Ohio State loses to Michigan,
Penn State can lose the Big Ten title game though, and they're still in the playoff. Yes. Indiana loses the Big Ten title game, and then you have another weird conversation about, well, do we penalize a team for being in the conference championship or not?
Yeah. My most entertaining storyline is who gets the 4 home games. Yeah. And how does that shake out? Because let's just walk through that. The loser of the Big Ten championship game will get a home game. That's guaranteed. I think Oregon versus Ohio State will get the 5 seed, which is 5 seed. Again, best spot to be in. You're playing the 2 weakest teams in the field to get the semifinals, where the 1 seed is going to have to play a probably very talented SEC team or another really solid team in the 8-9 slot.
Yep.
Which is a weird thing to be in for Oregon. So the other home games, let's walk through the SEC championship. If Texas loses to Texas A&M, I think Texas should fall behind Tennessee. If Texas loses to A&M on Saturday.
If Texas loses to A&M and Tennessee beats Vandy, they're both 2 losses. I would agree. Texas doesn't have the high-end win to justify that spot.
So if that happens, if Texas loses to A&M and then Georgia beats A&M in the SEC championship game, Georgia slides up to the 2 spot, and I think Tennessee is in play for a home game.
I would agree.
If Notre Dame loses to USC, who has 5 losses by 1 score and I think USC has had a 4th quarter lead in all of their losses this season, which is crazy. Then Notre Dame would drop behind Tennessee, and I think Tennessee could be in a home game spot. I think those are the two ways that Tennessee gets a home game. Penn State has Maryland. Maryland's terrible. I think Penn State is a lock to get a home game. And then it's also like, do they, in this current bracket, you've got a first round SEC versus SEC and a first round Big Ten versus Big Ten. In my opinion, that proves nothing. Why would we do that? Like the whole argument this season has been SEC versus Big Ten, and having those two teams match up in the first round like that doesn't answer any questions that we have about those two leagues. So do they kind of manipulate the bracket a little bit to not have that happen?
Yeah. I mean, it's just, it makes my brain hurt, to be honest. I'm sitting here.
Love it, man. This is my favorite.
Well, let's look over to the right side of this graphic real quick.
Okay.
Let's look at the top 25. How many of these teams? I can only think of 3 or 4 right now. Of that top 25 are out of contention to make the playoff.
Okay.
It's A&M, Missouri, UNLV, Illinois. Even though Illinois should be number 1.
A&M, Missouri, UNLV, Illinois. That's just 4.
That 20 through 23 stretch, because Kansas State and Colorado can both still make the Big 12 title game if they get help. Then you have BYU, Big 12, Iowa State, Big 12. Tulane is currently, in a spot to run the table and potentially get in as a conference champ. Arizona State's contending in the Big 12. You've got the SEC hodgepodge, Clemson, sitting at 12 with the ACC potentially still within reach as well. Boise State is good, and a bunch of other teams that are probably in. So,
Sam, you're wrong, because A&M technically does have a chance. A&M controls its own destiny.
I guess A&M beats Texas. They get into the SEC title game, right?
Correct.
So yeah, I mean, even A&M right now has hope.
3 teams,
so Missouri,
3 teams
UNLV,
in top 25 have 0 path.
Yeah, I mean, Missouri, UNLV, Illinois are the 3 teams that are in the top 25 that are gonna be put into New Year's Six bowls. And
no, there's no New Year's Six bowl.
There's no New Year's Six. Whatever, they're gonna get whatever the best bowl games are. Give me Illinois, Missouri in
the Music City Bowl.
And is that the best bowl?
I mean, because Alabama, Ole Miss, South Carolina will also likely miss it, so that's going to slide Missouri down.
Illinois, Missouri is a rivalry as well. It's a big rivalry between the two schools.
There's a chance that they could play like the Liberty Bowl.
So give me Missouri, Illinois. I would love it to be the Music City Bowl. I'd go. I would unquestionably go watch my Fighting Illini play Missouri. But yeah, I mean, like, those teams are going to make solid bowl games. They've had good 9-10 win seasons for each of them. But they don't have a shot at the college football playoff. But this is what the committee envisioned. This is what some fans envisioned. This is what I envisioned when this format came into play. 22 teams with a shot at the college football playoff. We have 1 weekend left.
Yeah, 22 teams have a path. That is accurate. Now, part of that's because the Big 12 is a madhouse.
But I mean,
and only one of those teams is going to get in, though.
Absolutely, but that speaks to this is why when they did the 12-team format, I was so big on getting some automatic bids for conference titles, because it keeps. And this is ultimately, this weekend is the culmination of everything, Austin, for all the people who said, well, the regular season needs to matter. And I can hear that, right? If you're Notre Dame that lost to Northern Illinois and it doesn't really end up affecting you all that much. If you're, any of these SEC teams that have, cannibalized themselves, and, although I guess this is good for the SEC, because you'd end up with Georgia, Tennessee, Clemson, Alabama, or Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama, Ole Miss, South Carolina, all out of the college football playoff for beating up on one another.
Yep.
But this is what makes the regular season matter, is that we can still sit here and have 20 plus games. There are like 20 games this weekend that have college football playoff ramifications.
Yeah.
How freaking sick is that?
Crazy. All right, Sam, I'm going to ask you a trivia question before we get to actual trivia here.
Okay.
All right. How many teams that are currently in that 12-team bracket, how many home losses are in that combined 12-team bracket, do you think? How many home losses?
I'm going to try and do the math in my head real quick.
Yep.
Notre Dame has won. Penn State has won. I think Miami lost on the road. Three.
You think there's 3?
Oh, wait, let me look. Arizona State I didn't factor in because I was looking at the rankings, not the actual list. 4. Give me 4.
And the 4 you named Notre Dame.
So Notre Dame has one. Penn State has one.
Yep.
I think Arizona State probably has one. And then does SMU have a home loss to BYU?
Yes.
So there's my 4.
So 4 is the correct answer.
So it's not Arizona State.
No, Texas.
Okay.
So 4 losses.
I am proud of myself for getting that right.
You did a good job. Like you got the question. You got the answer correct. You didn't have the right. You didn't show your work very well. But
3 out of 4 is not a bad call.
No, it's good.
I'm not the biggest college football.
No, but again, like that. I just wanted in that wild that you've got 4 home losses in those. I just think that that's something that I'm remembering in that first round of the playoff.
I would agree. Oh, you mean like when you look at the teams that are getting those buys.
Yeah.
And
like Georgia would beat Tennessee at home. Penn State's going to beat Indiana at home, even though they have a home loss. Notre Dame versus SMU, toss up to me. Ohio State's going to, I think that you're probably likely to have 3 home teams win in that first week. Just regardless of who they are.
I cannot tell you how excited I am and I hope. I look at the current home games: Penn State, Georgia, Ohio State, Notre Dame. I'm cool with all of those as those are going to be electric atmospheres. Don't give Miami a home game. Give Miami a bye, but don't give them a home game.
Miami has to have a bye.
Well, no, I'm saying that.
Well, I guess if SMU beats them,
don't give SMU a home game. Don't give Indiana a home game. Give Tennessee, give Penn State, give some of these places that are going to be rowdy. That's the schools that I want to see.
Here's another thing. What happens if SMU beats Miami in the ACC championship game? Where does Miami drop to?
I think they're I think they're in. I think they'll probably end up
yes.
I think they'll end up in the 10 or 11 spot.
Yeah. I think they're I'm with you. So, all right. Let's go ahead and get the trivia. Sam, are you going to be able to be trivia master today?
No, no chance.
So what do we do here? Because
I can try, but I think you should. All right. We'll try. I'm going to try and open up another window, see if it'll even load. Do you know how to be trivia master?
Yeah, I've done it once.
All right. Well, let's try that.
Yeah, I know. I have so many buttons to push.
You have so many buttons to push.
I have all of the transition buttons to push.
Well, it'll look ugly for a second. But,
okay, it'll look ugly for a second. So just bear with me, and let's see if I can go ahead and work on this.
I can maybe push one of the buttons.
I don't know. I don't trust your buttons pushing.
That's fair.
Okay. Oh, all see, right. It already did. I didn't mean to do that. It did that automatically.
That's all right.
It did that automatically. See, it's going to be ugly. All right. I will.
All right.
Are we just going to go into it?
Hang on. There we go.
You're jumping the gun on this.
We're not.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Because I gotta talk about Wilson County Hyundai first.
Well, we're trying. And I gotta play the intro. Talk about them. Let's get into trivia here.
Wilson County Hyundai, make them a part of your new car buying process. Go see them in Lebanon online, WilsonCountyHyundai.com. That's why I have so many buttons to push.
Yeah. Well, you played that little video, and that thing put my internet in a pretzel. I was like, that thing, everything froze for a minute, and then I got a little bump, and then it was weird. Right, I'm gonna need my handheld throughout this, as just read the questions, and I'll.
Okay. Are you going to be able to see that? Can you see the chat at least?
Yes, right now I can. Yeah.
All right. So you're the chat guy. All right. NFL. With Le'Veon Bell sitting out due to a contract dispute, this Steeler running back ran for 973 yards and 12 touchdowns in 2018. James Connor. That is correct. Oop. All right. Geography.
Okay.
South Carolina borders only 2 states, North Carolina and this state.
Georgia.
Yeah, that was
It's easy.
easy.
Easy geography for some of the stuff that we've gotten out there.
Television. The History Channel debuted this reality show in 2010 that originally featured Mike Wolfe and Frank Fritz traveling around buying antiques and collectibles.
American Pickers.
That's what. Yeah.
They have a shop in Nashville.
Yeah, the Nashville hub these days. All right, we're going to keep going around the world here. Movies. Based on an old show, this 2013 Western film starring Johnny Depp and Armie Hammer grossed over $250 million, but was panned by critics.
I don't know this one.
I have no idea.
I know Johnny Depp, and I know Armie Hammer is a cannibal, but
do what now?
Armie Hammer is a cannibal. Lone Ranger is what the chat is saying.
Lone Ranger?
Yes. And yes, he's actually a cannibal.
The Lone Ranger?
Sure.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
Music. I was thinking about her, thinking about me, thinking about us, what we gonna be. Or opening
Just a dream.
Yep.
Just a dream. Just thinking about me. Yep. Good song.
Beverages. Founded in 1862, the king of rums and there's nothing in the way are slogans from this brand of spirit, originally known for its Cuban white rum.
Bacardi.
You think so?
100%. The White Sox are sponsored by Bacardi. It's BAC. White Sox, who have a lot of Cuban players, are sponsored by Bacardi. They have a whole section called Bacardi at the Park. So
there you go. NHL. What Eastern Conference franchise has never made a conference finals appearance?
Newer franchises, probably.
The Devils?
No, they have. They've won a cup.
No. Most of my limited NHL knowledge is Western Conference based because of the Preds.
I was thinking, Nick, I had the same thought. The Islanders, I thought Columbus.
Columbus is a solid guess.
Islanders and Jackets, and that's what the chat
Jackets.
Says. Nick, Columbus. Go with Columbus. Now a lot of people are starting to come around to Columbus.
Columbus Blue Jackets. Ooh, got it. MLB, Jose Canseco launched a career-high 46 home runs during his lone season with this AL East Division team in 1998.
Okay, so he goes Oakland to Texas to Boston, back to Oakland.
So it had to be Boston, right?
No, because then he goes Boston back to Oakland. Then he goes to Toronto, Tampa, New York, Chicago. He played for 4 of the 5 AL East teams. I think it's Toronto, though, that he had a good year for.
I feel like there's Toronto. Okay, celebrity mashup.
He did a year and a half for Tampa and went to the Yankees only for half a year. That is Gerard Butler and the girl from Twilight.
How do you spell Gerard?
Gerard. Gerard Butler.
Girl from Twilight.
Yeah, the main girl, but she plays Bella in Twilight. Is it Kristen? Kristen Stewart, Joshua says. E-N, he spelled it.
We going with Kristen Stewart?
Yeah. I mean, that's who that looks like to me, right?
Dang, got it.
There we go.
Okay.
Not too fast, but we got him right.
Well, we had to take our time because you're limited here.
Yeah, it's a little laggy, but I can actually see it okay. I was surprised I could see it. I thought you were going to have to read the question very slowly. I was prepared for celebrity mashup. You'd be like, okay, it's a guy with a scruffy beard and he kind of has a.
I feel like if I'm the trivia master, I can't answer the questions because I'm focusing on.
Yeah, by the time you read them, it's like
I'm having a process.
I will say it was a lot easier for me there not reading the question.
Because I will say, I think I'm the best at reading the questions. Easton sucks at reading the questions, and he knows that. He's really bad at reading the questions. I think I'm the best presenter of the questions. It just eliminates me mostly from answering it.
I'm not a big Jose Canseco fan, but I feel like a lot of big baseball fans know his like relative career path, especially because he played for so many teams. He did play for my White Sox, but that was not till 01. That's how I do it. If you're just curious, is I know that he played for the White Sox in 01, and I know where he came from. And
Right.
so he came from the Yankees, and I know he got traded half a year from Tampa to the Yankees. And so then it was Tampa would have been 2099, and so then Toronto would have been 98 the year before. So
all right. Well,
and actually, this is interesting because I heard you talking to Easton about this. I do not. I feel like I'm very bad at jersey numbers too. It is
we
not.
We don't have time.
Just rattle one. Rattle one.
I mean, I'll tell you what. Did you watch the show yesterday?
No.
Okay. Mike Evans.
13.
Thank you. You know that much.
Yeah.
Easton had no idea what jersey number Mike Evans played.
Okay. I feel like I know like I'll know most of the stars and stuff.
I said Caleb Williams was my second one, but you obviously know that because you're the Bears guy.
He's now 18.
Yes, but do you know? I asked
that's interesting though because like I don't know. I would say gut. I don't know Anthony Richardson or Drake May.
You know Anthony Richardson because he was he had to change his nickname.
I would say 4 is my best guess for Anthony Richardson.
No, he had to change his nickname.
12.
AR.
Is he 15?
Yes.
I thought you were going to say he changed from 15.
No, he changed his nickname.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, Drake May, I don't have a clue.
10.
10? I would have been my guess. Okay.
Easton didn't know Michael Jordan.
No, come on.
Yes. He did not know Michael Jordan's number. He did know Kobe wore 8 and 24.
He's trolling. He doesn't know Michael Jordan's number.
He didn't know Aaron Donald.
Is there a more famous jersey number in the history of sports?
I agree, but he didn't know Aaron Donald wore 99.
Give me a different one because I feel like you're saying them, and I don't know if I would get them or not.
Jalen Hurts.
2.
1.
Okay.
He wore 2 at Alabama. So
one more. I got to get one. I got to end on
Joe Burrow.
Oh, that's a good one. I have to picture it in my head. 9.
Yes, it's 9.
What? Sometimes you have to close your eyes and think about it for a minute.
No, you shouldn't. It's and the funniest thing about Easton's thing is he is such a numbers guy.
No, yeah, he's not beating he's trolling. You cannot. How do you not know Michael Jordan's number?
Well, he's also. I don't think he's much of a basketball person. But again, I'm with you.
My fiance knows Michael Jordan's number, and she can probably name 6 athletes that are alive.
If you are a fan of Miley Cyrus, you know Michael Jordan's number. Right? It's not that hard.
I would say 65% of the people you could go up to randomly on the street would be able to tell you Michael Jordan's jersey.
Do you know? I mean, you probably know this. Do you know all of the different jersey numbers that Michael Jordan wore for the Bulls?
Only wore 2.
He wore 3.
45, 23.
Mm-hmm.
There was a different one?
There was a blood jersey game.
Oh, God. 34? I don't know.
12.
I don't remember him wearing 12. I remember 45.
It was just the one. It was the blood. It was literally, he got blood in his jersey and had to change.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good fact.
I don't know how many people know about the blood jersey rule. Do people know that rule?
No,
the blood jersey rule.
A lot of people in the chat are with me on that. I know Burning Devil says 23-45 is all I know. Yeah, I knew about 45, but Michael Jordan, Birmingham Baron.
Man. All right. That's it. We are done for the week. Well, Sam, you're going to Titans practice today. So there's still content.
Tomorrow. And Friday.
Sam is no
break. I'm going to be locked in at Titans practice. We're done with shows, though.
Yeah, done with live shows. You're going to have some content later, video content later in the week, though. But hey, make sure that you do like the show. We'll check
Thanks
you
for
guys.
bearing with the toaster episode.
Yeah. Luckily, it's only one day.
We did it.
But that's it. All right, guys. Hope everybody has a great, happy, safe travels, Thanksgiving. Sam will see you later in the week with some content. The Vols Vandy Game Day show on Saturday, and then Titans at Commanders on Sunday. So we'll catch you guys later on. Enjoy your holiday break. See you soon. Appreciate it as always.